There we go.
There we go. So did you? Okay, so have you heard about the PE breakup, Chuck and Flav?
Yeah, I heard about it.
What's your film about?
Well, you know, Flavor Flav is one of my favorite people.
Yep.
And Chuck as well. And so I always thought it was an odd mix. Flavor, Professor Grif. The S1Ws I got, but all of them was a difficult mix because they're all so dramatically different. Mm-hmm. But Chuck was tolerant, and Flavor was excited about the team and loved Chuck, and they were lifelong friends. So they tolerated each other forever. But that's how friends are. And so, as you know, they're back together again.
They are back together.
Yeah, so, you know, friends get in fights. But it was always amazing that people of so, and I'm kind of like that too. So, I kind of get it, but I think people don't. You know, if they knew what I knew, they wouldn't get it because Chuck's such a straight-laced guy, you know, no-nonsense guy. And Flavor is so much fun and alternative and reckless in some ways, but that's kind of his beauty. So the fact that they were able to be together so long and still are back together is inspiring to me. So when they broke up, I just thought it was difficult and they needed a break. And so when they came back together, I was right that they needed a break and that they're back together. They said it was April Fool's. They probably got together and, you know, started laughing and then told everybody it was an April Fool. I think they lied. I think they got a little mad at each other for a minute.
I love that. So go ahead.
No, I was thinking about the politics of it all. I don't want to go into that. Go ahead. Not the politics of them, but the politics of Bernie and all that. I don't know if that was part of it or not.
Orin Juice Jones. Why didn't he ever put out an album? Because that record was so huge.
He did put out an album, and we had My Honey Spends a Lot of My Money, and we made a song called Pipe Dreams. And Pipe Dreams was one of the most beautiful songs. I mean, I produced a few hit R&B records, but Pipe Dreams was ahead of its time. It was a B-boy record with Terence Blanchard's music. And he sang, inhale, feel the rush, hold it, you're losing touch. The demons have arrived, nightmare begins. Pass the blast, watch the torch burn. Happy again, because it's my turn. Take a minute to light the pipe, and let's pass it around. Let's do it again. And the song is called Pipe. It was so beautiful. I can't find it because 6 times I sold my book. And when I was smoking, and when I've been through all that period, drugs, I wanted to have that song. We can't find the song. Let's find a remix of it. I can't find it.
So was it released? Was it released?
Yeah, the album came out. It sold a lot. When on that album was a few hits, records. They weren't big, but they were played on the radio in different parts of the country, different parts of it. They sang some pretty ballads too. I did Here I Go Again, Smokey Robinson's song. You know, beautiful. And then he did some duets with he did a duet with Allison Williams that was on Above. What was the name of that cocaine soundtrack? That crazy soundtrack with Robert Downey Jr. That movie, and we had a soundtrack, Less Than Zero.
Less Than Zero.
And they had a beautiful song on there that he and Allison Williams sang together. So you could check how to Love Again. If you go on iTunes to play How to Love Again, it's like that's the original Force MD's B-boy, beautiful melodic song. You know, and it was a great song. It played on the album and played on radio in New York for a bit. But Orin had a career. He made 2 albums.
Okay.
And he had one giant hit and other records that play on the radio. And the second album even sold 200,000. That's how big he was.
Do you feel like? I have a theory about this, right? So The Rain was his first record, right?
Yes.
Now let me ask a question, because I have a theory about it. I think sometimes you can have a record so big when you first come out that you can't recover from it. Do you agree with that?
I agree that he never had a record as big as The Rain at all. But I think the people, this is interesting, because you're right about that. It happens all the time. But the records he made after, and some of the records even on that album, today would stand up better. And beautiful melodies and a good song, but they couldn't, as you said, stand up. They weren't as commercial. But the people who bought his album were very happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're very happy. It's not like you play that record and then the album is dead. The rest of the album took over a period of time for a lot of people. So Orin went on the road, especially in England. In England, he had other hits.
Right. Right. So Leo Cohen, Rush Management. Did you love management, or did you love the record company side? And what was it about Leo that you identified with? What was it, and did you think his career was going to flourish like it did?
Well, Leo was a promoter who did what was really hot in New York, was he put punk rockers like Run DMC and Suicidal Tendencies. Neither one had broken, but Run DMC at least had Suck MC. So he booked that. Then he booked Houdini and another punk rock band, and I think Uncle Jam's Army, remember them?
Yes.
They took out his posters, fucking destroyed his show.
Yes.
And he went broke. And I think he had a different version of the story. But he came to New York, and he started to work for it. He lived on the hotel room floor, and he was like, I'll say it because he really gets under his skin. He was a slave. Like he did whatever. Andre said, keep him. Because Andre was supposed to be the co-manager, help him with the management company. But Andre would rather exploit the big Israeli guy than go to work. So he liked Leo. So we were going to send Leo back, but Andre said, keep him. And Leo became a great manager. And Andre went on to start Uptown, but Leo became the manager the partner in the management company, and eventually became a partner in Def Jam. But that was after, towards the end of before we sold it, he ended up with a third of the company, which he deserved for sure. But Leo worked his way up. He likes to say, you offered me something. I ain't offer you shit, Leo. I treated you like shit. You worked hard. And I think that's a character statement, that he worked so hard and he just wanted to make it, but not, he didn't have to be a boss.
Right.
And Leo is still a little bit of a boss, but he was a servant. He made other people better, is the kind of boss he was. And that's the boss he is today, because that's why
was he that aggressive? Was he that aggressive then like he is today?
Yeah, he was an Israeli soldier.
Period.
Yeah. He don't know. If you tell me he's aggressive, he'll ask you, what do you mean by that? He'll say that right now.
Russell, you're tripping, Russell. Stop
right.
Russell.
But he's a very generous soul. You know what really touched me about Leo when Ronnie Ray checked out? Yes. Leo, and before that, he took care of all the Hollis crew. It was from his childhood that he met all Danny Whiteboy, Ronnie Ray, Cool T, all of them. All of those people would be at his house in the Hamptons like two months ago or last summer. Ronnie Ray was at his house in the Hamptons, and he would leave them in his house to stay when he'd leave town. Ronnie Ray and Danny Whiteboy. These are the Hollis niggas from the hood. Even Danny Whiteboy was the Hollis nigga from the hood. But he kept them as like everybody has their own philanthropic, social, or political things that are heartfelt, that mean something to them, that they give back to. He always took care of the Hollis crew. When something was wrong with one of the Hollis crew, he would be the first in the hospital. He was at Ronnie Ray's bedside. He left the MTV Awards to go to Ronnie Ray's bedside. He had a big YouTube party, and he left. Where you going? I'm going to Ronnie Ray's bedside.
Wow. And
that's where he sat until Ray died. So he had a special heart for those hood niggas. The rest, I always tell him, we're doing this for the hood. He's like, all right, I'm going to see Ronnie Ray. So, everybody picks and chooses where their heart goes.
Yes.
And Leo showed his heart by picking those people and others and really giving to them.
Right.
So that's Leo.
Did you have a mentor, and did you mentor people? And if you did, who were they? And how did it turn out?
I was inspired by so many people, the Quincy Joneses, and just reading the Barry Gordy stories. I didn't meet him until later. All of those people and all of those experiences that you read about and I read about were my best inspiration. My main mentor, though, was Robert Ford. Okay. And Robert's very sick now. He's the guy from Billboard who wrote a story. The first story ever written about hip-hop was written about me and hip-hop. And it was about, actually I mentioned it a lot, but it's really about hip-hop coming of age in Harlem before there were rap records. It was written by a reporter at Billboard. He met Joey on Jamaica Avenue. Joey was like 12. I think about 12-year-olds putting up flyers on Jamaica Avenue like that. I'd drop him off there and pick him up. That's crazy. It's illegal. But anyway, he would put the flyers, and he was, I'd give him a bag of weed, and he put the flyers up. 12. What was wrong with him? So Robert got the flyer from Joey and got the number from Joey. Called me, wrote this story about hip hop and Hollywood. Because Hollywood, at that time, before rap records even, everybody who went to the Apollo, it was opening, his name was on the billing. It would say, you know, George Clinton, DJ Hollywood. The Dramatics, DJ Hollywood. So he would tear a hole in everybody's ass who came through, to the point that people would call and say, I'm not playing the Apollo if that Hollywood nigga gonna be there.
Wow.
Hollywood tear their ass up, whoever came to New York. So he wrote a story about DJ Hollywood, hip hop, Eddie Chiba, all of them. And then I met him. I met him then because he interviewed me. And then that's when I brought him to see Eddie Chiba and Curtis Blow and Flash. And when Curtis Blow stole the show and became, you know, the choice to make the record with.
So again,
what was the question?
I said, who mentored you, and who did you take under your wing?
I would say that, you know, mentorship is and a guru is a remover of darkness. That person doesn't have to speak to you, right, for you to be inspired by his or her actions.
Absolutely.
Or that person doesn't have to recognize his role for you to learn from them. So I get people who say that I mentored them that I hardly spoke to. I have others who I would show how to do it. Like I had a vision for every company I built.
Got it.
For Fat Farm, for Rush Card, I can't count, but I was very clear what I wanted to build. And there was no such thing as what Rush Card was. I had to teach a banker what I wanted done, even though I couldn't count.
Right.
And then no one understood, no bankers, no money people understood what that company was and what it became in terms of the whole world having a similar financial service. So you show people what you know, and then they end up being smarter than you, and they show you what they know. And there's that's the blessing that they return the favor tenfold. So I had those experiences with a lot of people. You know, all of them. They worked with me, and I learned from them, and they built my life in clothing, in financial service, in music, in every experience. It's been that people have worked with me, and I've had, in many cases, I had ideas no one else had. You know, or I heard an idea. In the case of Bob Sumner taking me to the comedy club, I was like, and I said, TV. Or my brother making me see Black Ice. Because I didn't want to see that fucking poetry. That was the last thing in my mind. I saw Black Ice. Oh my God, TV. Or you know, I saw Hollywood at Eddie Chiba. I saw make a record. We made that record with Curtis Blow before there was a Sugar Hill Gang. It was on the shelf when Sugar Hill Gang came out. So we were already excited about the potential. But it wasn't me. It was Robert Ford said, let's make a record. So, you know, you're just there early and you see it, and other people see it with you, and they execute it, and you get to ride along. So if that's kind of like what mentorship is, if you're a real servant of others, you find it that's more likely than you took someone and taught them and told them how to become who they are. They were inspired by some of your good ideas, and then they had better ideas or other ideas, and they built themselves. So the Andre Harrells and the Leors and the Kevin Lyleses and and all of the people, the Brett Ratners and all of them, they came to me and they had a dream of their own.
So with COVID-19 going on and your daughter's stateside, what is your messaging to them about the world that we live in right now at this present moment? And what are you trying to? What would you like to see them in terms of after this is over? What do you just see happen with them, with your daughters?
First, let me say.
And who is Russell Simmons as a father?
Well, first, let me start with the question where we are, and then lead to my daughters. Mother Earth has had a great chance to rejuvenate herself. And I think Mother Earth and all of the animals that got to visit places that they hadn't visited, and all of us are part of one major collective. Mm-hmm. That if God were the ocean, we'd be cups of God. I love saying that. And so we see this well-being being promoted around us and in us through this time of silence. It's up to us to take from it what we as individuals will do as we continue to be part of a collective. And so you can't say the world's going to change to say, I'm going to change. And I think individuals are learning more about what matters.
Right.
A great number more than you would expect went home and rediscovered their families, and more discovered the need for their own mental and physical health, and are now more focused on what matters most, which is, there's only one goal in life, Charlie: enlightenment. There's nothing else. Everything we do. Enlightenment. And the reason I say that to you is that every effort we make, whether it's new sex, or if it's buying a car, or old sex, good sex with your wife, everything we do is designed to give us another second of presence. And I always say that, Super Rich, the name of my book, I call it The State of Needing Nothing. You told me you read that book. But this idea of presence, like, it comes when you get a new car. You extinguish the neediness. So more people are looking for greater consciousness or more second. We're all doing it anyway, but more people are focused on that in more lasting and stable ways than buying a new car. They're actually looking inside for their happiness more than they have. And so there's a shift in consciousness that a lot of us are going through, to see that there's a way to be more stable and have more lasting happiness by focusing on the thing that God gave you and gives you to grow and to move towards Him. See, the idea, we all want lasting and stable happiness. How the fuck, see a corpse and a sunset as the same? That's the goal. But everybody's too focused on only the sunset to learn that there's a greater, that all these poses in yoga can be good. The ones that hurt can be easy at some point. So I'm seeing more people, and I want my daughters to have the experience to say, because they say there's two things. The great equalizer is that everybody is feared at one time, less a little bit today than yesterday, of the same thing. All fearful of the same thing. But at the same time, I can talk about how unequal we are as we see as this thing is evolving. But just to find out that we're living beings, and we want this presence, and we want freedom from the anxiety and the noise. And the rest of the stuff is not important. So people more focused on consciousness. Well, Taqwa, Muslims, Christ consciousness, Christians, Nirvana. Focus on the real goals, more people. So my daughters, I talk to them about this all the time. Not quite in such a kind of a lofty description, because it sounds a little, but I remind them of what's important every day. I speak to them every single day. This technology, like, I see them every day. They're in their mother's house. The mother's in heaven, by the way. Quarantined with all 5 kids.
Yes.
My 3 godchildren and my 2 daughters.
Wow.
So she's okay. And they're very lucky and fortunate, and I remind them every day. They're behind the gate.
Right.
And the moment everybody was scared, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to scarcity of food and all that? I felt safe for them. Right. The mother won't let them leave the house, period. I almost can't go out and breathe the air in their own backyard. But I told her that they were safe. I had to tell her she locked it up. So I tell them how lucky they are. I know they know it. I taught them some basic tools, like when they were kids, how to meditate every morning and basic shit. But I try to remind them that the world is not important. I always tell Yoki to get an F.
The world is not important?
It's just part of your job. You find purpose to serve the world, but the world can be at any time, and you're going to learn to accept it as it is. Right. And operate from a place of needing nothing. Just operate from a calm place. No matter what happens, keep your bliss, your happiness, right. And go out and serve God, or do good. Do your good, and without worry about results. So I tell them these things over and over again, and some of it sinks in sometime, but all of us are struggling with this. Nobody can do this shit. We just know about it. Right. At least knowing it, hearing it. Ming said, Ming, do good. I use the word good. I know, Daddy. But damn, why the fuck you don't do it?
Right.
So why you don't do it?
Right.
I know, Daddy. The shortcuts that we all take, that she still takes, engages in, the neediness of stuff that just causes suffering. I remind them that stuff's not good. Just because it's already etched inside them all. We all know what's right. So when the preacher said, we said, I know that's right. When the imam say, when Minister Farragut said, come on, brother. Like, we know that. It's just ringing a bell. So I try to ring the bells a lot as a father. To ring the bell, remind them that the world's a playground and that they're just the watchers of the world. And that the eyes behind the eyes can be happy no matter what. I keep telling them that. So they, you know, they don't remember it, but they remember it when they need it.
Right.
Yoki and Ming don't meditate.
They can tap into it. They can recall it.
Yoki started meditating again at one moment in school. She called me. She said, I've been meditating every day because they stopped. They were made to meditate. The Kamara would come in the room when I would meditate with them before taking them to school, and they'd be giggling and whispering and shit while I was meditating. And Kamara said, I'll fucking cut you. And they would sit up, and when I opened my eyes, they'd be gone, lost. Because when you sit and close your eyes and you sit and you're patient, the mind settles. And then kids settle into meditation very quickly.
How old were they then?
Well, between 11 and 15, I would go over their house every day and take them to school and meditate with them. I mean, take them to school a little younger, but they started meditating about 11.
So, okay, let's go right to my next question. So you're a vegan and you're a yogi. I need you to tell me about that whole transformation and then the benefits of it. And then you can actually suggest some positions for me, a beginner. Because Ramadan's coming up. So I need to go into, I've always wanted to do it. So if you could
Ramadan, my brother, listen, as a vegan, it's because of the suffering of the animals. 22 years ago, I began that. I was already practicing yoga for a few years, and I was taught, I remember Sharon and David were one of my teachers. My first teacher was Steve Ross. He played loud rap music. He himself was raw foodist for 40 years, but he never discussed spiritual matters. He just would play loud rap music and teach yoga. That was my first class in LA, and I fell in love with his class. But then I moved to New York over 20 years ago, and I met Sharon and David, who were much more into promoting. Now, Steve had been a monk, but he exuded yoga, didn't teach it. He just taught the physical asana practice. But Sharon and David thought it was necessary that everyone study philosophy or yogic science. So they gave me the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita and the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And these books, one of them is just a science book for happiness. There is no religion. There's no reference of even the deities that taught yoga in the Hindu tradition. None of it, because it was predating all of that. And it was just a science book, the Yoga Sutras. So Sharon and David gave me those books, taught me about yogic science, and I fell in love with the idea. So it's the science of happiness. You know, they teach you what's in the scriptures, the same that exists in the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, taught by the Sufi Muslims more, the Buddhists more, but exists in the scriptures of all of the teachings of all of the great religions. So the Yoga Sutras was a book that didn't contradict a word of any of those books. And I fell in love with that and the science. So that's that. That became my guide to happiness. Things that I read, that I remembered, that were truths, that were already etched inside my spirit in the Yoga Sutras rang a bell with me. And the vegan thing, I go back to, the suffering of animals came from that group, the people at Jiva Mukti Yoga, 20 some odd years ago, 22 years probably now. It's the most unconscious behavior to birth 200 billion animals into suffering. And I always say this, so they could destroy the planet because it's #1 cause of global warming. And so they could cause cancer and sickness. Like, what good do we get out of that? It's completely unconscious behavior. And when you see that, people can be that unconscious. And you can't, people always say, you know, I bet there was a slave that woke up and it was really in the most difficult position. And if he was able to speak to the mother of his child, he and his mother might say, people can't be this unkind. Sometime in my lifetime, I will live a better life. But for hundreds of years, people were birthed into and died into complete suffering and completely unconscious behavior. This is the behavior of man towards animals for hundreds of years. And in their own scripture, and the original Jews, and the first children of Abraham, all of them, says dominion over the animals. And in fact, the Jews didn't eat animals before the Christians and Muslims came. And you know, and a lot of the slaves came over, and they said they're not eating no dead animal, period. And when the Irish came to America, they didn't have corned beef and cabbage. They had cabbage. Only rich people ate animals at one point. So that, you know, you need your life. So they didn't eat animals.
Wow.
And they did minimally. And then the kings, in cases where they were rich, in Asia and other places, they would have periods where they went vegan because they knew that they prayed over each animal they ate, and they knew that it was unconscious behavior then. And in every scripture, we're taught to take care of the animals. But birthing them into this tremendous suffering is the worst karmic disaster in the history of the world every year. Reenacted every year. So that's my belief system.
Yeah.
And like people say, don't be so forceful about it. You know, I wrote the book, The Happy Vegan.
Yes.
You know, I like to let people be, and I don't like this polarized society where people hate each other for thinking differently. And I don't want to be a person that gets, you know, as angry about people's behavior because it's just a different thought process. People say, oh, we have a different philosophy. I think killing of God's creatures is a philosophy where I draw the line. And I speak as much as I can on behalf of those creatures. And sometimes it sounds like I'm crossing the line when I'm asking someone to just think about the harm that they're causing.
Right.
So that's the vegan thing. And the yoga thing we talked about, it's the science for happiness. And I want, if more people forget the physical practice. You know, Charlie, every day I do a live physical practice. Since it's quarantine. And I give it to people. And I think I will say this to people because like I do these breathing exercises to begin. And I do those 26 poses to get circulation. Because if you got corona, you need breath work. And the breath exercises that are taught, originally they said by Babaji, who's a mystical figure, who was supposed to have lived in the forest for thousands of years. And then Yogananda, who we didn't know physically on this earth and built all those self-realization centers, got it from him and then gave it to his monks. And one of his monks gave it to, although not authorized, gave it to Bikram. And Bikram made it popular around the world, those 26 poses. So those poses are pretty good and they're easy, you know, to get started. They're pretty good ways to get started. But also they're very good for respiratory exercises and very good for circulation. And for those who are not that flexible, anybody can do the practice. So I teach that practice, even though I know that there's many other forms of yoga which I like.
Ooh, that's great. So what about if you have like with me, I have arthritis on my knees?
Well, there's many poses in that particular practice. There's one called Virasana, hero's pose, that you stop the circulation, which all the poses, you stop the circulation as you hold the pose. And then when you come out of it, the blood races through. So that Virasana, hero's pose, it's called, and you probably know it. If you sit on some blocks and you stop the circulation and it races through, it's very, very good for your knees.
Right.
There's something for everything. That's why the 14 parts of the body are given oxygen and circulation through these practices. But the asana practice, I said, is only a small part of yoga. There are 8 parts of yoga, and the asana is the third of the 8. The physical yoga practice, they say, let's go to yoga. Yoga is a moving prayer, and it's one of the 8 parts of the science that brings you to God.
So do you, Russell, you know I called you up about when you put out Do You. You know,
Yes.
You know, changing my complete. Listen, that right there, the secret, changed my complete life. Those 2 books changed my complete life. I said, and again, when you were talking about mentoring, you don't have to say anything, but through your book, I have never read a book in its entirety in one sitting. I read the book from front to back in one sitting. I got on the plane in Philadelphia. When I landed, I had finished the book. I was pouring down tears. It was almost like a baptism almost. So are you going to write part 2 to that book?
Well, you know, Do You has a lot of personal stories in it, and also it talks about a spiritual journey and the practices that will help. And I think that people, like, you relate to the stories because they're like yours.
Yes.
So everybody who's teaching, that's why the prophets came in different colors and different languages and different ages, because everybody had to speak a different language to reach the people. And we from the hood, a lot of the way the preacher said it doesn't necessarily ring the bell, but it's all the same truth. So it's interesting that the book I just finished, it's a life story, but it's also Confessions of a Hip Hop Yogi. And I relate a lot of my life journey from Kevin Hart to the Beastie Boys to Kanye. That story, a lot of it relates back to yogic science, to a more self-reflective kind of seat where I wrote from. I wrote from the forest, and I was in deep pain when I started writing it. So I wrote this journey a little bit more introspective. And it's a little bit like Do You in that regard. It has my entire life, which are relatable to people who come from where we come from. But it also relates it back to the spiritual journey and what are you learning from these experiences. So it's a little bit like Do You in that regard.
Great. So again, so you go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
So you just finished doing a fundraiser with Def Comedy Jam.
Yes, sir.
But now you told me that you're going to do Def Poetry. And
that's
raise
right.
Money once again. So can you enlighten us on that? And what can we do? What can we do? What can
well, I haven't. Well, they just edited that 3 hours and 20 minutes down to 50 minutes that we did. And they also included some of the sketches, because I think we found out that some of the comedians just having a conversation when people expect comedy, it didn't work as well. So we made a very special version, which we're going to put on Instagram and have Insta story. So it'll probably travel some, and the GoFundMe is still up. Across all platforms, we made $100,000. Now, that's a drop in the bucket, but it's enough to buy, 50,000 or 45,000 masks. And in the hood, see, some cities it's illegal to move without a mask. New York, I don't know why they keep saying with great leadership. They didn't do what LA did. They didn't do. I remember de Blasio said. Nobody. I find this to be mind-boggling. When I talk about the polarization in America, I'll just deviate for a minute. The politics. Trump his timing was the same as Cuomo's. He said, that the economy, it's okay. De Blasio said 10 days early after being too late, I want to shut New York down. Cuomo said over my dead body. And de Blasio before that said over his dead body when the idea was introduced. And then everybody reacted, the economy first. And, I don't like this idea, everything Trump did. I know Trump for 35 years. And I know that some of the things he said are not true. And I know that he's divisive. And I know that some of those things that people say about him are true, but no man does everything wrong. When you put one foot in front of the other, you walk and you're doing it right. And some of the choices that he made were good. I don't know which one, because I watch the news and they don't let him. It's like we don't listen to each other. We live in a polarized society. And it's hurtful to me that people don't listen, because I want to be I don't like being part of a gang. When they tell me, okay, I know I'm pro-choice. I know I'm anti-gun. I know I'm I can go on and on. There's a list of 20 fucking things. I'm all of them. So how did I get to be socialized in such a way that everything I believe is part of the gang? And then the voices that lead these ideas, which mostly I think, in my mind, the compassionate ones, are so angry and demonize everybody who doesn't think like me. In Switzerland, everybody got a gun. There's no violence, no gun violence. Everybody got a gun. You leave the army, you got a gun. Every house has guns. No violence. There's a lot of different arguments for everything, and I believe, and that I listen to conservatives all the time. And by listening, people get mad at you. But but you have to listen. I'm just praying that we become less polarized in the future, because that's the only way we're going to have a society where people get to love each other and respect each other. And I think that the internet has put us in algorithm hell, rhythm hell, where you only get what you love, and you only get more of what you love, and then the people who enforce what you love are angry, and so you just become this. So I don't think that's what progressive means. Progressive means you're a listener too. In fact, that means we need more of the divine feminine And this eminent rise of the divine feminine, even through masculine toxic means, because I think it's very forceful, but it's necessary, like every revolution. But we need more thoughtful, compassionate, and loving leadership instead of angry and separate, leadership, because that's the only way we're going to really thrive and, and get to pay attention to the things that need our focus.
Yeah, separation is not who we need leading our charge.
Right.
Right.
And I think the liberals are just as separate, just as angry.
So, listen, we came to a wonderful ending of our brotherly love session, and I love you so much.
I love you, Charlie.
Do you have any last words for our brothers and sisters before I let you go?
Yeah, because COVID-19 is on their minds and they're locked up. I want people to pay attention, the black people in particular, black community, and all those who live in those kind of surroundings that are created, whether it's the environmental racism or just it just so happens that black people are predisposed to asthma, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. All of these things is why we're dying at 3 times the rate of white people. We have to take stock in our health. When I say don't eat animal product, I'm in Malaysia right now trying to develop cheap white meat, pork, chicken, turkey, cheaper forms. And I'm a big supporter of Beyond Meat and, the alternatives that have to happen and have to be made cheaper. We are already by far more likely to be vegan than our white counterparts. So our diet, because we have so much of these things, a lot of us have gone vegan, and because we have West Indians in our culture, but we are way more vegan than the rest of the world. We have to get more vegan, and we have to get more healthy and plant-based, and we have to get more concerned about our health and our obesity and all of these things. We got to get a handle on it, because we're the first to die, and I just want us to take care of ourselves. Also, our spiritual health, which we are very good at, goes along with our physical health. Don't think that, like when the yogis have that third of those 8 limbs, which is the asana I talked about, it says take care of your temple in the Christian scripture. You got to take care of your body. If you want to find God, you have a vehicle to bring you there. The watcher is trapped in a body. He has a tool of the body and another tool of the mind to get us to God. Take care of your tools. That's it. Clean your mind and your body as part of your process to find God.
I would say it in the wonderful words of Russell Simmons. God bless. Good night.
Good night.
I love you, Russell.
Love you too, Charlie.
Love you. I'm going to bring my sister in. I got a sister that had COVID-19. Her name is Kelly French. I'm going to bring her in and get an update on her health.
Okay. Look forward to it.
You.
I'm going to watch it now.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
peace.
All right, peace. Kelly, come on, Kelly. Come on in, Kelly. Where you at? Kelly French, where you at? Where you at? I hope y'all enjoyed Jackie Lee. Hope y'all enjoyed Russell Simmons. I think this was an extended version of the Brotherly Love session, but I think it was needed. I think it was important. I'm looking for Kelly French. Where's Kelly at? Please, nobody request yet, please. Lil Sean, Behind the Smoke. You said it was epic. Listen, if you said it was epic, Sean, then it was epic. Dirty Diana, what's happening? Joan Trader, what's going on? North Philly, Lex, Kelly French this year. Let's talk to our sister, Kelly. Stevie G, my brother. Kelly, sound like Sister Fatima. How are you, sister?
How are you?
Listen, I am so glad to see you. I'm so glad that you're well.
Thank you.
I want you to definitely, if you would be so kind to share with us. Let me tell you something, because of course I was present in it, but I didn't know anybody that was close to me that actually had it.
Right.
When I heard you had it, it hit my heart.
Right.
Because I've known you over 35 years. I've known you since you was 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, it hit my heart. And I have nothing but the utmost love for you. And so I'm glad to see you back. I'm saying your family, because you got a close-knit family. Your kids love you.
Yes.
Everybody loves you. You know
Thank
what I mean? And so I'm glad to see. I talked to you the other day. I know your voice is a little bit raspy.
Yeah, it's still raspy now, but I'm getting better. Okay. So when I first learned, first of all, social distancing is very important.
Okay.
And I really want to stress that, you know, to our people, because I hear that we are being affected by COVID-19, you know, at an alarming rate. And this thing is that I was at a conference in New York first on a Thursday. It was March the 5th. And I had a women's empowerment event on March the 8th. So in 72 hours, I was in a group where there were, the first event, it was like over 1,000 people. And my event, I had at least 100 women here. And I started to feel ill 3 days later. So I called my physician and I went to see her on the 4th day. And when I went there, you know, they asked me where I had been, you know, and I told them I was in New York, and they were saying like New York was a hot spot. But at the time, the president of the United States and the CDC was saying that we could still gather in 250 people, you know, like you could still have
right. You still have gatherings of 250 people, right? Got it. Right.
So they tested me for the flu, a respiratory infection. So I didn't get my results until almost a week later. So which meant that I had COVID-19, but they never tested me for it. They only tested me for the flu, a respiratory infection, and strep throat. So my results, so my doctor called me and said, listen, you're negative for the flu, you're negative for a respiratory infection. You need to go to a testing site. You can't come to the office. So I said, okay, I go to a testing site. I went to the testing site on Thursday. By Saturday, they called me and told me that I tested positive.
Wow. What was your feeling?
Shook my world, because I was really sick though. That was the whole thing. I was really, really sick. And the symptoms that they describe on TV, they weren't my symptoms. You know what I'm saying? So I was looking for a dry cough. And when a dry cough, you know, it's like one of those, I don't know what a dry cough was, but I know my cough was active. I had like a lot of mucus and congestion in my chest. So that's why my doctor gave me a prescription for cough medicine, a nasal spray, and a Tamiflu package. I had fevers and night sweats and the shortness of breath. They were like, if you hold your breath for 10 seconds, you'll be, you know, you don't have it. So I'm calling my sister. I'm like, well, I can hold my breath for 10 seconds. You know, I don't think that I have it. But the shortness of breath came when I was walking up the stairs. And I was just like, okay, like, why am I winded? Because I work out. I work out, I go to the
So you're
gym.
pretty healthy. You're pretty healthy.
Yeah, but so another thing too, I kind of compromised my immune system because I was preparing for my event. So I was working out extra hard. I wasn't eating as much as I should have been eating because I was also busy. You know, I'm a stylist and then I'm putting together an event. So I was just doing like a lot of running around. So I kind of compromised my immune system by not putting the proper nutrients in my body. So that was one of the things too, because I got the virus, but my husband didn't. Although we stayed separate, and you know, alhamdulillah that my house is big enough where he could be in one part of the house and not breathe in my same air. But because he has underlying health issues, I still feed him well. You know, he only eats fish, he eats no meat, a lot of vegetables and all those type of things. So he eats a lot of oranges and all that kind of stuff. So his immune system was really strong, but mine was compromised because I wasn't doing the same things that he was doing. So that COVID-19, when it's mental, you know, it's really mental. You start thinking, am I going to die? Am I going to get worse? You know, will it get better? And a lot of people don't make it out from that. And I'm very grateful to Allah that I survived it.
Were you hallucinating?
You know what? I texted a friend day before yesterday to wish them a happy birthday, and they told me that I had already talked to them. And I told, and they, because, well, actually, they text me and said, well, how are you feeling? And I'm like, well, you know, I'm getting past this. And he was like, I know, I talked to you already. And I was just like, when? I had no idea. So maybe so. I wasn't there.
So how long from start to finish did it take you to come through?
Well, I have been in quarantine for almost a month. I just had my first day out of the house. Here's what they tell you, because they don't know anything. They're guessing as this goes along. So they say to you, when they called me and told me I had to get tested, they said quarantine yourself, self-quarantine yourself. So they tell you to stay quarantined for 14 days. And then after your symptoms clear, you still have to quarantine yourself for 7 more days. So I actually sat in my bedroom for 19 days.
Wow.
Like 2 days ago, I just started to come out my room. So I've been in quarantine almost 1 month now.
So what from Daryl Schuler, Jeff, yourself, what I'm hearing is that I'm almost positive that they know when you're at the hospital, but they want to get you back home and then tell you you're positive there and then tell you quarantine yourself there. And then my thing is, if you make it, if you live, cool, and if you don't, it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. That's what it seemed like. Does it feel like that to you?
It did feel like that, because I'm like, first of all, I already told you what my symptoms were. Right. We know that there is a virus coming around. You should have tested me for that then. It took 10 days before I got tested. Well, it took 10 days before I knew that I was positive. Do you know how many people I could have infected virus?
Yes.
But
yes, your kids.
I'm a kind
your husband.
being. I can affect him. But I think, and I was just like, listen, I just need to self-quarantine myself, and because I didn't even want him to get the flu if I had the flu.
Right.
You know, I had to not take my clients because I'm a hairstylist. I can't be on top of them and infect them and coughing and whacking. It was just, I could have infected so many people had I not thought about, like, had I not had a little bit of information about this. And just think of the people who are asymptomatic, that don't have any symptoms at all. They are going around people, they're infecting people, they're bringing it to their parents. You know, you really have to self-quarantine. You have to stay at home. We have to get control on this, because if not, you know, there's a lot of people that we're going to lose. A lot of people. Wow. And I know a lot of people that have lost loved ones, and I'm so grateful that I was not one of the ones.
Allah is merciful.
My life, Allah is merciful. He is merciful, and this made me. It made me appreciate a lot of things. You know, appreciate my family, appreciate my time. It was a lot. It was a lot. When they told me I was positive, I just felt like my heart just sunk to the ground.
Really?
Yeah, and then my son, like, okay, my children, they came to drop things off because I'm home by myself, you know. Right. And my children came to drop things off to me, and this was the first time that ever I saw my children and I couldn't touch them.
Wow.
I couldn't hug them. I couldn't kiss them. Always hug and kiss my children. Every time I see them, I tell them how much I love them. And, you know, we FaceTime every day. You know, I know my mom was worried. My sisters were worried. You know, my husband was worried. My stepchildren were worried. And you know, just not being able to touch your loved ones, and them, you're sick and they can't do anything for you. They can't comfort you. They can't rub your back. You know, it's sad, and it's so final. You know, people who lose people from this virus is so final, because once they get sick, you can't be with them, and you can't give them, you know, the proper burial, you know, or the proper goodbye, you know, and say your goodbye. So it's a lot to digest, and it's a lot to be grateful for. And if you really care about your family, and you care about yourself, and you care about the state of the world, you know, stay home. Just stay home, because this is really serious. And you know, there's so many stories and stuff. Black people don't get it. you know, I kind of almost believed that myself at first. I was like,
black people and young people don't get it.
Right. And I'm young.
That's the myth.
Yes, that's a myth.
Very sad one. Very sad and ignorant one.
Yes, it is very sad. And you know, it was a woman screaming because I went out, you know, 2 days ago. I'm like, okay, I'm just tired. Not tired, but I needed to go to the pharmacy and pick up, you know, my vitamins and stuff. And I was in the store, and this woman, she looked at me. She was like, oh, I have a mask like that because I have that N97 mask. And she goes, oh, I have a mask like that, but I'm not wearing it. So if the good Lord sees fit to take me, then take me now.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow.
And she goes to check on her grandmother, and she checks on her children. And she rides the bus. She's saying in the store. And I'm just like, ma'am, I wasn't going to say to her, you know, anything about my business, but I'm just, I was just taking it in, just like.
Right. Trying to plead to her.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just like, you need to wear it. You need to wear it. But I to nurse myself back to health, Charles, I have a friend who does juices, and she makes sea moss. So I was drinking like turmeric and ginger. I was doing all of this. You were
doing that prior to.
Huh?
You were doing that prior to you getting the actual disease.
No, this is while I was sick with the virus. I was drinking juices. I was just trying to do everything to fill my immune system. Black seed was number one.
Yes.
I was taking my brother-in-law, he bought me some supplements. My brother bought me oranges. I could not taste anything. I couldn't smell anything. The only thing that I could taste was citrus, which is weird. So I ate so many oranges. I drank a lot of tea. I did the steam treatments. I even tried the thing with the girl. There's a video circulating about the young lady. She sprayed her face with water and she put dry on it. That worked for me. Maybe it may have worked for her, but she said that she never tested. But I think that when you feel it, you have COVID-19, you have it. But I did that.
Well, they're saying that's as a preventive maintenance, not after you have it, to prevent it from getting it, because it's supposed to be it grows in your up here in your nose, in your nostrils.
But the thing is, when it gets down into your lungs is when you develop the pneumonia and when you can't breathe.
Yes.
You know, so that it starts there, but when they test you, they stick this long swab. Yes. Back to the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah. So the test was brutal, but I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it. I think it took too long to get the results, and I think that they take too long in testing people. But I think the best way from me being in quarantine myself is to stay home, to quarantine yourself. Just don't go out because you just don't know how you can get it. You know, you don't know if it's airborne. You don't know if it's through sneezing, because they don't know. They could not answer me.
They don't have a clue.
They don't have a clue.
Even to the degree of now you've had it. Now you don't know whether you're immune to it or not. You don't know.
No.
Right.
You
don't know. So you have to stay quarantined for sure.
I stay quarantined. I'm just like, I'm okay with not going outside.
Yes.
I'm okay with being home.
Yes.
I'm okay.
So now again, I'm so glad that you're doing better.
Thank you.
Praise be to Allah that you're better.
Yeah.
Now tell me about your business and what you do. And I know you went on and doing some great things out in the world before this happened. So what are you doing with your life? What's happening?
Yes. So I'm a hairstylist. Actually, I'm not just a hairstylist. I'm also a contributor editor for Worldwide Magazine. I have a salon in Port Richmond section. I run the Best of Philadelphia from Philadelphia Magazine as an international stylist. I cater to celebrities and photo shoots and TV shows and movies and all that kind of stuff. And I was listening to the sister saying, you know, about things being in your bucket. And I'm so grateful that I've been in the business since 1996, and I've had a longevity in this career. I gave Charlie Baltimore her red locks. I worked with Serena Williams, Little Kim. I've done Fashion Week in Paris. I'm sorry, not Paris, in Milan. I've been my own head of my own fashion team in New York for Fashion Week. So I've had a wonderful career in this. I've done all types of hair, black, white, candy stripe, you name it, you know, it's just whatever. So I'm in Philadelphia. I'm in the Port Richmond section. I have a private studio inside our building, which is also an event space as well. So, you know, it's a dual thing, but my studio is private. There's not, you know, nobody coming in and selling stuff over top of your head or eating fried chicken. It's definitely an experience. We serve our clients, you know.
What's the address? What's the address?
My address is 3330 Collins Street, but you can also go on my website at thekellyfrenchexperience.com. I write a blog. I just have interesting things. A pixie wig line and a bob wig line is coming out because I know women of a certain age, they don't want the long wig, you know, they want something short and they want some crop, and especially with working out, a lot of us are working out now. We're taking control of our health. We're taking control of our lifestyle. So got a lot of things going on.
Well, I'm just so happy, again, for your health, first and foremost.
Thank you.
I'm happy to see you again with a smile on your face that you have.
Thank
I
you.
love you, sister.
I love you
Love
too.
you, love you, love you.
I love you, Joe.
Allah keep you, man. Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Wa alaikum salam.
Be blessed.
You too.
All right. So I want to thank everybody this evening for your patience, for your support. This was a wonderful, wonderful Brotherly Love session. Again, once again, I want to thank Jackie Lee. I want to thank Kelly French. And I want to thank my brother, Uncle Russell Simmons. Be blessed. Charlie Mack. Till Wednesday. I holla.